Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome, dudes and dudettes. We are Offensive Points, and this is our way too early rookie Superflex mock draft for fantasy purposes. So, guys, we're ready for this. This is really fun for us. Billy's our resident college football expert. Josh and I like to contribute where we can, and we're just going to keep this train rolling. We are in dynasty season now. Best of luck in your redraft leagues, but we've moved on from it. We're already in the playoffs in our leagues. You should be too. So onwards and upwards, folks. Josh, Billy, what is up?
Honestly, I'm just excited to learn like the rest of everyone today, right? All the listeners are gonna be learning like, oh yeah, that player is gonna probably be pretty good. I might know less than them, but you know what? I'm just looking forward to talking football, any kind of football, off season drafts. Man, the rookie drafts are my favorite time of the year. Other than actual football season, like that little, it kind of breaks up the off season, right? Like you got the Super Bowl and you got a few months, then it's like the NFL draft, and then it's rookie draft season, and that is my absolute favorite. Is just rookie draft season and diversifying in all my different leagues. It's just a great time. Looking forward to seeing what these drafts got. And I'm going to have some pretty good picks in a couple dynasty leagues because I have some really bad dynasty teams right now.
I have zero picks.
The way I see it, we do a lot of podcasts for the people that are winning and playing fantasy football currently. However, there is that subset of the culture that is done with fantasy football for the year. Their teams have tanked and they're looking to make dynasty moves, or potentially, you may be holding on to the number one pick overall or number 2 or 3 or 4 pick, and you're kind of curious what players that could potentially be. So I think this podcast will actually be for those people that maybe, the season hasn't gone the way you wanted it to. Maybe you weren't listening when we were doing it in June and July. Sorry, maybe next year. But we're going to get you started, just a little bit earlier on, getting ready for this upcoming, rookie draft. I think that is a very helpful thing for people, especially those that, are done for the year.
Yeah, and if you weren't listening to us in June and July, welcome. Stay with us. This is where we shine. We love it. And actually, guys, when Kyren Santos had that kick block last week, pretty much fucking done with football season. So it's on to 2025 for me, and so I'm ready for this.
Let's see what the Bears can do in the draft too. We'll get there.
Unfortunately, Joe, we're not going to be going over the offensive line in this draft, so that is a tough break for you, my friend. This is a fantasy draft, so you all probably do need a running back, so I guess that could be a way to go. I like DeAndre Swift as much as the next person, but there's clearly an issue with the pass blocking from the running back position. DeAndre Swift is not that guy.
Joe,
honestly, Roschon looks almost better in a way.
Yeah, he does, but they don't want to admit that out loud.
So, Joe, I got to actually go back to this, and I think this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but we made a fireball bet before the game, and I said that the Chicago Bears offensive line isn't as bad as you guys keep saying it is, and I'm still on that train.
You happen to watch the best game that offensive line has played all year round. So I'll take the shot. Josh. I got my.
It's not even that. I wasn't trying to flex here. I was talking to another Bears fan, Perry, and he was chatting about this, and he's like, "Yeah, the offensive line." And I was like, "I feel like it's a cop out. You got a rookie quarterback who steps up into the pocket at the wrong time instead of scrambling out. I feel like he's afraid to scramble out. I feel like maybe that's by design or by coach's orders, but he'll step up into a sack whenever it's clearly a rush on the interior line. And I just feel like if he just happened to step out, make the play last a little longer. And honestly, he played a great game, but just want to say, I just feel like the whole offensive line, I understand he's been sacked a lot. Jalen Hurts has been sacked a lot. We have one of the best offensive lines in the league. So to me, it's a mental error that you have to learn. And Caleb's fine. I don't know. I'm not worried about the Bears personally.
Yeah. Here's the thing. It was the best game that line has played. Maybe because Ryan Bates came back off of IR. He's their veteran on that line. Center, who Caleb practiced with all offseason. So there's a chance that was better. But you watched that whole game, and it was the best they've played until the final drive where they let up 2 sacks in a row, and that was the Bears' offensive line of old from this whole year. So you watched, you paid attention on a great game. Caleb scrambles all the time. He is constantly on the run. He can't get set, and they're beating us with 3-man rushes, and it's bad. And hopefully that changes. But you're wrong, but I will take the shot for it because they look better this year.
That O-line is just it's the problem is in this last game it didn't happen, but most games there's at least one free rusher coming at Kaleb. And then once he dives out of the way of that free rusher, then he's got to start his progressions, which I don't know if a quarterback can do that properly, especially as a rookie when, the whole field's different when he looks up after being, completely free rushed at because they don't have a running back that can chip. But that's a whole other thing. The Bears need some help, and they'll get it in this upcoming draft. Before we get to the actual rookie meat and potatoes of the podcast, I do feel like we should talk about the dysfunctional Jets. So guys, it appears as if Aaron Rodgers is gone after this season. The owner kind of just came out and flat out said it. What do you all think the Jets should do from here? And is there any, now that the GM's gone, the head coach is gone, is there any of these fantasy options that we should be a little concerned about because they will not be a guy that has been picked by the new incoming regime? You guys concerned at all there?
I don't know what free agent quarterbacks are out there, but I feel like that's their play, right? Because they're a win now team, and you draft a rookie quarterback, and then you end up with the next Zach Wilson, which, I mean, you're just it's just picking out at it. Maybe they can get Shedeur, Sanders, and that'd be really cool. But like, if you don't and you pick the wrong one, then then that team has to complete rebuild, right? Like, because Breece, Garrett, you can sign one or two of them, but if you're losing, you have to strip that thing bare bones. And the team's not bad. It's literally a quarterback away from being a playoff team, which is sad. Like it's not even Aaron's playing terrible. He's just not winning games. Like that was what he was good at, was being clutch and winning games, and that's not happening this year. So really kind of sad. Like I feel bad for Jets fans. Same with Browns fans. Like I feel like the two of them have just been doing this for so long, and the Lions are finally out of that slump, it appears. So
the Browns shouldn't have given up on Baker, but that's story for a different day.
That is a whole different one. The Jets signed their veteran quarterback, and I'm not saying veteran as in go get Matt Ryan, but I mean there's got to be someone who's going to have a contract and slips into free agency. Definitely not Daniel Jones, but I'm hoping that there's some free agent quarterbacks out there for them to take a look at as well as in the draft. I don't know. It's sad.
It's very sad. No, I mean you're not replacing Breece. Garrett Wilson, very talented. Whatever Josh says about him, he's a talented dude. And then Devontae Adams, talented. I don't know what his contract situation is, but this poor dude travels everywhere to be with his quarterback. They ship the quarterback off, and it's on to something new. So, no, I think the nucleus of this team is fine, like Josh said. It'll just be interesting to see who comes in. They need an entire culture change in that offense. It's like when you watch the Chiefs just do little things, they're very professional. When you watch good teams do the little things, they're very professional. The Jets do not have that in their blood, and until that gets fixed, sorry Jets fans.
All right, so let's assume that they're gonna sign or draft a rookie quarterback, whether it's a top one or not. Let's talk. Let me just float some ideas out here. Say you'd be like, okay, this guy could fix the team or not, or at least put him into playoff football. Sam Darnold. Okay,
I don't think the Jets would admit defeat.
I don't think they could do it. I don't think they could do it.
It's fair.
I understand what you're saying. I don't think they could do it.
Well, I'm just going through a list of expiring.
No, I know. It's just like I don't think they could do that. And
it's the same conversation with Ryan Tannehill for.
God, that would be funny though.
Gone. Okay, well,
that would be funny.
You got Trey Lance, who knows, right? Like that's a you better draft a good rookie quarterback at that point. Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, or Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston.
I'm interested by Fields.
Yeah, Fields would be cool.
I feel like Fields or Wilson, whoever doesn't get signed,
whichever one they don't keep, I think, that's not a bad thought.
That's the number one.
The problem is they're still going to have trouble with that line, and if Fields is your quarterback, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, but the good news about Fields being your quarterback is he can leave that pocket, and if someone can coach him to tell him to throw the ball instead of immediately look to run, it could be. And you got Garrett and maybe Devontae Adams running around.
No. Someone needs to coach him not to run into the sack. That is Fields' problem.
Yeah, his is the opposite of Kaleb Williams. Kaleb Williams steps up into the sack. Justin Williams scrambles into the sack, and that edge rusher hits a little bit harder because of their momentum.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I do. Fields interests me. Whichever one whichever one doesn't sign there. Russ Wilson's been balling. So
I was gonna say at the moment I'd say it's Fields that's gonna be looking for a contract.
Probably so. There's always Mickey Blanco. He's always out there.
Well, there was other ones in there too, like Mac Jones and Carson Wentz and stuff like that. But I didn't feel like mentioning backup quarterbacks.
I feel like Mac Jones this year with the Jaguars, like now that he's come in and just gets completely annihilated by the Lions, I think that just kind of like puts the nail in the coffin, at least for a long time. I don't think we'll see him again as a starter.
No, I feel like he's
not
a
injury
backup
related
at this point. Hopefully he gets to go make some money still, because I feel bad for the guy, but man, the tough shoes to fill after Brady.
I'm just hoping that Tommy DeVito balls out for the Giants and plays himself into an excellent contract from them. Very similar to what Daniel Jones just did, and the Giants are forever fucked.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I'm just interested to see what Tommy DeVito can do, because we know it's better than Daniel Jones at this point.
So, side note, I got to ask this question today.
Okay.
Malik Neighbors. Okay.
Yeah.
Tommy DeVito threw over 200 yards one time last year. He threw most of his touchdowns were 1 touchdown games. Obviously, it was the middle of the season. Is he still going to get 13 targets a game? Is that what this offense is doing, or are we just going to rely on Singletary and Tracy and see what happens?
Honestly, I don't know, because you always assume that you're coming in and you're going to just pepper the stud, right? Like the best target, but sometimes it doesn't happen, and I feel like that's been happening a lot this year, where a replacement quarterback's coming in and you're like, oh well, okay, cool. Tyreek Hill will still do good. No, he didn't. So I do like Tommy DeVito. I think he's a little bit more of a risk taker, and this team pretty much has nothing to lose, so he's playing for his contract. So I mean, in my opinion, he's going to throw a lot to Neighbors, but he might mix it up too. I mean, their wide receivers are actually surprisingly good. Like Wandale and Slayton can both run around as well. So I can see Wandale getting 15 targets too, because the easy slot dump offs.
I do think we might be seeing some of the depth also throughout the end of the season, just to see what they have, who they have. Hyatt. Is this person? Yeah, like Hyatt, for example. Just see who's who and what's what. I think will be how the rest of the season goes. But yeah, Singletary, probably not going to see him very much anymore. It feels like, but
yeah. I mean, Theo Johnson was coming on.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just I want to say no, because Tommy DeVito really didn't do it from a fantasy perspective last year. But they didn't have Neighbors. Wandale was hurt. They didn't have Trace. They didn't have Theo Johnson. So, I don't know. Crazier things.
Love a good dog bark in the middle of a point. Offensive point.
Dog offensive point.
Dog offensive point.
Yeah, my dog is barking at the mailman because, the old 8 o'clock mail routine happens more than I'd like to admit. Oh well, it is what it is. All right. Well, I guess on that note, let's just hop right into this rookie class. Honestly, guys, this is one of the more exciting classes. Normally we say the year before, okay, it's going to be a big class for this, big class for that. This one's actually holding strong. We're actually going to have a lot of fantasy players added in this draft. If you don't have draft picks, you might want to get one in the first couple rounds here, because you're going to have some great options and guys that can come in and start right away. There's at least 4 or 5 guys I think could be starters day one, at least on the running back side. That's not even to mention the wide receivers, which are a little bit more of a mixed bag, but still interesting. And then a couple of quarterbacks who everybody said this quarterback class was dead, but I actually think, could be coming on here pretty strong. So let's start with the first player overall. I think you guys probably know him by now. He's a running back from Boise State. Josh, you actually know his name, so give us the number 1 pick.
Ashton Jeanty. No, I'm just kidding. Ashton Jeanty. I actually pronounced his name correctly with Billy, and I was just I'm so proud. I'm so proud. So I had to mispronounce it just because I feel like it's at this point an obvious thing. Yeah, this guy's really good. I have watched probably 2 or 3 college football games this year, and I know that this guy's the best player of the draft. And even if we were doing Superflex rankings, or if we are, he's still number 1 in my opinion. I feel like it always comes down to what you need, but I feel like every team always needs another stud running back. Hard to pass up on what is to come from him.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, landing spot is going to be key. We always preface these drafts with that. But if he goes to a team like Dallas or Minnesota or any of these teams, it's wheels up and you're just going to have an absolute stud. I mean, the guy is averaging almost 200 yards a game. Do it.
Yeah.
Bring that to the NFL.
1,800 yards so far, 26 touchdowns so far. Like, obvious Heisman candidate from Boise State. Like, this guy is completely insane. And if you're drafting Ashton Jeanty, you are not drafting him to be a backup. You're not drafting him to be a 50-50. You're drafting him to be the guy. So, one of these teams that drafts him, I really swear, please do not do us like the Falcons did with Bijan. Please do this the right way. I know he may not get drafted in the top 10 like Bijan did, but he will get drafted pretty high. And Dallas Cowboys, please just do this. Just for everyone at home that wants you all to have a running back again. I know you all didn't think running backs mattered. I get it. We all kind of thought the same thing. You're playing fantasy football, but they do matter, and you are going to need one. And yeah, with that being said, yeah, Ashton Jeanty, easy number one. I would be shocked if your league, in your league that you're in right now, if anybody else went number one overall.
This dude has Pittsburgh Steelers written all over him. It just seems like a Steelers
Joe,
pick.
Don't do this.
I need it. I got to see him in a Steelers jersey.
Do you remember
in a three-headed monster? No, please don't.
No, they didn't pick up Najee's option. Jalen Warren's hurt all the damn time.
That's true.
If Najee is truly going to be a free agent, then sure. But with that, we do not want Najee and him in the backfield together. We're just going to have a headache on our hands.
I want it.
You want that headache?
I want it bad.
All right. Yeah. Well, with the second pick overall, now this is where things get a little interesting.
Is this Superflex?
This is Superflex.
Okay, go on.
And it will not be a quarterback second overall. This pick will be quite interesting for running backs because there are like 4 or 5 that you could probably talk yourself into, and you're probably going to watch tape on like 5 of these guys, and you're going to fall in love with them, which is why the draft's so fantastic. However, I am going to go with one of my loves of the past, and that is Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State. Now, he has not had the best season this season because he is splitting the backfield with a running back that we will get to here in a little bit, but he is still a freak of nature. He, as a freshman, ran for almost 2,000 yards. It is quite insane to watch him run. He is a power back. He is a guy that you can give the ball to 30 times a game and you will be fine. I think he's going to be another guy that ends up on. I mean, the Chargers are kind of interesting with how they have, but they a guy that ends up on like the Chargers and they just give him the ball 30 times a game and weasel out the clock. And I think he would be a great pick at the second overall draft pick.
Do you think it too, though?
Not in an NFL draft, I don't believe. I think he means in the rookie draft.
Yeah. I do this one, I guess, will matter a little bit more with the landing spot because he probably won't go until the second or third round. But I just can't ignore the talent because I know this year the problem with what he did, he accepted the big bag of money Ohio State put on his porch. I get it. But he knew his stats were going to get cut because of Treyveon Henderson being there. I just think once we actually get to the meat and potatoes of the combine and everything, there's just going to be no denying that this dude's a freak and they need to have him. I mean, he's a guy that he's a big power back, but he could bust off a Derrick Henry 70-yard run. I just think there's no way you can't keep this guy in the top 2, I think. Potentially.
One thing I think we got to worry about with running backs is there's a team out there that I could absolutely see going after running back, and that is the Houston Texans, who have Mixon for 1 more year and then nothing behind him. So there is a chance that we do get a split backfield from one of these guys, and so I just want to throw that out there because I mean you still draft him obviously because it'll pay off in the long run. Mixon's only got so many years left and literally 1 more year on the contract, so. There is just those teams that are going to potentially have that weird split, but it's makes more sense than that whenever we see like a Charbonnet or Isaiah Spiller getting drafted and just rotting on the bench essentially. So there's hope, I guess, at that point.
Yeah. I mean, Quinshon is a great pick. the one thing I want to say is we're done with these tiny running backs for a while. And I'm so excited because we have been through 3 years now of just these tiny running backs coming out, with the exception of like guys like Quinshon Judkins and
Bijan.
who else? Yeah, but it's been we have some actual powerful running backs coming out, which will be cool to see.
True.
Oh yeah. By the way, Billy, I believe you've been saying this for like 3 or 4 years. Next year's draft is going to be a good one. Next year's draft is going to be a good one. So we're officially on. This is going to be a good draft.
Okay. We're here. We finally have gotten, like, the last couple of years. I mean, there's been some good drafts the last couple of years. I don't want to, but like, how 2019 was for wide receivers. Like, this one is the one for running backs. Like, this one,
I love that.
We're just about to get replenished, and I hate anybody who's a free agent running back, Najee Harris. I just hate that it happens to be this year. I mean, somebody's going to overpay him, of course, but this is just the year to replenish your stock because there is so much good in this draft. All right. Well, do you guys have anybody you want to throw out for number 3, or do you just want me to keep going down who I think will be on this list?
I got someone I want to throw out.
I was going to say I know a couple people. I know some names.
Okay. Well, so please.
This one I want discussion on because we are an IDP network. Okay. And we got a guy coming out in Travis Hunter that everyone knows about that is a very good wide receiver, but could also be playing defense, possibly some punt return. Who knows? He's a gadget player. He's a jack of all trades. If he, in fact, is going to play defense and he gets drafted by a team and they come out and they say he's playing wide receiver and defense, unlikely. But where would this dude go in an IDP rookie draft if he was getting points on both sides of the ball?
Potentially even number 1 at that point. But it'd be hard to know that. It'd be hard to know that at NFL draft day, right? Like if you're drafting in August, right before the season starts, we get all that, camp information and everything. My logic for this is if you have a choice to be on offense or defense, why would you choose defense over offense? Like, I mean, in my opinion, he's a great receiver. He's a great cornerback. Is he a better cornerback than he is receiver? Or
well, so it's kind of interesting because, like, if you look at his tackle numbers, he doesn't really have that many tackles, but it's because they're afraid to throw the ball his direction. So the stats don't really. I mean, he's got 3 interceptions on the year, but most quarterbacks don't throw at him because they're afraid of him. So it's kind of tough to decide because he's a lockdown corner. He really is. But I mean, he might be a better receiver than he is cornerback. It's just tough to tell. I just don't think at an NFL level you can play both ways. We've only seen it once. I just don't see it happening again. But if we're going to see it, this is it. We found him.
I mean, I just wanted to throw it out there because he could go first, and he could be a total bust for fantasy, depending on how his career plays out. Is it sustainable if he's playing 2 different places? Is he going to play defense and then he's just wasting cornerback spot? So I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I wanted to bring it up. He is the exciting.
We're going to put him at number 3, Joe. We're just going to put an asterisk next to it. We're going to put him at number 3, but we're going to put an asterisk. This is if he plays both ways.
I feel like the only way he plays on both sides of the ball is if he is primarily on defense, and then they use him like Taysom Hill, like gadget player style.
I 100% agree with that, but I think that if they did that, that would work. I actually think that would be something that could work if they did like that. And he actually probably would have quite a bit of fantasy because even with Colorado, he doesn't necessarily always catch 10 balls a game. They might be 5 or 6, but it's like a touchdown or it's a rush out of the backfield or it's a gadget type play, like you're saying. So, I mean, if they did that, I actually think that could work quite well.
Well, okay, so if he's a cornerback, right, and you're playing in a non-IDP league, but he's also a kick returner, and he also plays some offensive plays, what is his eligibility going to be on, the fantasy sites, for non-IDP? Because for us, we're in plenty of IDP leagues where we could stick a corner or something on there, but if he's just a cornerback, but he plays offense, you don't even have the opportunity to put him at the wide receiver spot or flex or something.
I guess I'll put him at wide receiver, but it just won't be that.
We're living in an interesting time for fantasy football. We have Taysom Hill getting 40 points. And then we got a guy who's going to play cornerback, wide receiver, kick returner, maybe even quarterback.
Taysom Hill with his 64.81 points got me into the Scott Fishbowl playoffs, baby.
Did he really?
Hell
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yep.
Hell yeah, Joe. That's
What a way to get into, man.
Mhm.
Like, that's amazing.
All right,
By the way, I mean, I don't want to like super flex here, but like we're all in the playoffs, Scott Fishbowl, right?
Yeah, we are. We are
Nailed
all
it.
in. I mean,
Nailed
thanks
it,
for
guys.
flexing us right here, but yeah, we are all
Super
in the
flex
Scott
draft,
Fish.
super flex, baby. Offensive.
Super flex.
The old OP super flex. All right, Josh,
All right.
you have a player you want to throw out? Let's get to it.
I do know a guy. So
Okay.
he plays with Travis Hunter, and it's Shedeur Sanders. And I mean, can we put him in here? Like, we're talking super flex, right?
So we are talking about him, and this is 100% who I would pick as the first quarterback off the board. He's been my QB1 this entire season, and I haven't wavered even a little bit from it. This dude is a monster. Like, he is playing with one of the worst O-lines I've ever seen this year and last year, and he is just putting up monster numbers. And I think a lot of people, when they watch his game, they don't understand that, like, he's going to go to a bad team. He's going to go to a team that probably doesn't have an O-line set up for him to be good. And he's proving at the Colorado college right now that, like, he doesn't necessarily need an O-line. He can make things happen. He's got the arm. The only concern with him, and we played the clip, I feel like, 5-6 months ago, where Deion's going to have a heavy hand in where he ends up. But if they can find him a place to go that agrees, this is a no-brainer for the number one QB off the board.
So I'm thinking, like, because I'm assuming that some of these teams that are in the bottom of the barrel right now are probably no-goes for him. Once again, we talk about the Jets. The Jets are slipping. That could be a great landing spot for him. But
For sure.
someone I think that is probably on his list. I don't remember the list specifically, but I think Las Vegas. I think he would allow him to go to Vegas.
I think they were on the list. It was like the Eagles, the Falcons, the Cowboys. And I feel like the Raiders were on there, but I can't remember exactly.
If you think about the flash that Deion needs and that Deion wants, Vegas is the perfect place for it.
That's what I was thinking. Just the Sanders. And by the way, is Deion just going to retire from coaching after this? Like, he's like,
no, he actually says that he said he wants to keep coaching after this. I suspect he's going to end up at a big school after this, but he says he's committed to Colorado. We'll see.
I thought he said he wanted to go to SEC. Like,
I think that's what he wants to do. But I mean, of course, he can't come out right now and say, "Yeah, I don't want to be in Colorado anymore." He just said he is committed to being at Colorado and continuing to coach in college. But I mean, a lot of people want him to be the Cowboys coach, which would just be insane. I don't see how that would work. But I do
Raiders
think
coach, Raiders draft pick.
Yeah,
Vegas.
exactly.
Oh my God!
Sports betting legalized. It's the perfect storm.
He's the new Pete Rose.
And they like trade up and trade Travis Hunter too. That would just be wild to watch.
Double dip like the Texans did. Oh, I could see it, man. I wouldn't put it past anyone.
Definitely wouldn't. Okay, well, that was number 4 off the board. So number 5, I think Joe, you got all right. Well, I like this. Joe, who do you got?
I want you to save me from myself because I love athletic mobile quarterbacks, and Cam Ward looking pretty good, pretty athletic.
Okay.
Depending on his landing spot, obviously we're doing a rookie draft before the draft has taken place. Talk me out of him, Billy. I'm not saying he belongs at 6 here. I'm just saying, or 5, but.
Well, I don't think I would take him at 5, Joe, but I do like where your head's at. Cam Ward, he has been in college for 5 years. He's kind of bounced all over the place. He was my number 7 quarterback last season because I thought he was going to come out in the NFL. I didn't think he was going to come back, but thank God he did, because where he was probably going to be the 7th quarterback last year, 3rd, 4th round, now he's going to be a first-round quarterback, and we're going to be potentially talking with him being, Giants, Tennessee, Raiders, like whoever Sanders doesn't go to would be happy to pick up Cam Ward. And no, Joe, I can't really talk you out of it because I love Cam Ward's game. He is very good at making things happen. I don't love parts of his game. There is some things that he needs to work on, but because he does kind of hold on to the ball too long, and he does need to be a little bit more decisive when the plays break down. But I mean, he throws monster games. I mean, he's had 300-yard games almost every game this season. So I mean, no, I'm not going to talk you out of it. I don't know if I'd go with him at 5, but I do like the idea of Cam Ward.
I want to bring him up because I know he's your guy, and I just need you to put it in my brain.
Him and Sanders are my guys.
I just need you to put it in my brain right now that I do not need to go head over heels for this Anthony Richardson 2.0.
He's not quite Anthony Richardson 2.0, Joe. He doesn't run like Anthony Richardson. He doesn't look like a gazelle running down the field.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. But if he ends up somewhere between Jaden Daniels and Anthony Richardson.
Well, I just feel like if you put somebody next to Anthony Richardson, Josh immediately was like, nope.
I just crossed them off my list. Yeah,
I know. That's exactly what I saw. The look in your eye when that got mentioned. He is not like that.
He's way more Anthony Richardson this week, which is sad. Yeah,
good for you. I don't think that's bad. That's not sad. Anthony Richardson's back.
Okay.
Breakout.
All right.
Incoming.
Well, the real 5 on this list. We will get back to Cam Ward very shortly. Trust me. Number 5 on this list is Mike Evans 2.0. We're going with Tet McMillan out of Arizona. It's the smartest player to pick here. He's 6'5" and just an absolute monster. Now, I will say this. He had a 300-yard game in the first game out there, and it was like, yeah, duh, this guy's obviously who we thought he was. But then he kind of hasn't really done that again since. He's had very splashy flash plays, but this Arizona team is just not good. I just don't think
ask if Arizona was any good at this point.
Yeah, they're not, and they have a great weapon on a bad team, and that's kind of what Tet McMillan is. But you know what? It's time we break the Lamborghini out and get him onto a good football team. And I definitely see him going to a team that needs a giant wide receiver. The dude's 6'5".
He gets drafted by the Giants. Is that what you're saying?
That would be kind of where I throw my head in my hands. Them, the Ravens. I would just kind of just throw my head in my hands there too.
I would imagine, and I hate to say this and hate to wish this upon him, but I would say Carolina is probably one of the most wide receiver needy teams at the bottom there.
Well, the thing about Carolina though, their pick is very strange because if they're picking it like in the top 5, I doubt they're going to get or take Tet McMillan at 5. However, and they don't have a second round pick, so they're not getting him there. I don't really know how they would get him unless they traded some things, and I don't think that was a smart move for them. So I do think he might.
You don't think Tet's in the top 10?
He might be
top 10 Tet.
Top 10 Tet. He might be. 10. I don't know yet because I don't think there's 2 wide receivers in the top 10 in this draft.
I need to see him on the Patriots, dude. I need to see this dude with Drake May.
Again, Joe. Don't. Oh, I mean that's true. Drake May is kind of a monster. That would be.
I just feel like there's always this like need for wide receiver, right? And like the top 2, I feel like almost always go around at least the top 10. Like one's always like top 3, top 4, and then there's always one that's like 8 or 9.
Well, this year is feeling more and more like I think it was like 2. Whenever Garrett Wilson went, like Garrett Wilson went 10, and then we waited a little bit and drafted another one. This feels a lot like that with wide receiver this year, where it's like Garrett Wilson's good at football. Like why the hell did he go 10? But you know, after that, it kind of started. He is good at football. I know that you are joshing us right now, literally. But I think it's going to be one of those kind of years with wide receiver. But yeah, so yeah, Tet McMillan at 5. Number 6.
I'm gonna push one out there, and I may be way off base, and this might just be a homer. Where does Luther Burden? Assuming that he's going to be in the draft this year, where does he fall?
He is going to be in the draft this year. He's one that I'm curious about as well. Joe,
he's a little undersized.
You don't have to raise your hand, Joe. You can just yell it out.
Just pick Josh.
Billy, I want to ask you a question, sir. Troy Franklin last year. Everyone had him top 5, top 6 in the draft. Top 8 was probably the worst I saw him. Between Luther Burden and Egbuka from Ohio State, who is this year's Troy Franklin?
It's Egbuka, if anyone. To be honest with you, just because like Egbuka has been really good this season, but he is not better than the freshman on their team, Jeremiah Smith. I would 100 times out of 100 take him over Emeka Egbuka, and I think that there may be a similar situation going on there. By the way, we want Oregon wide receiver wise, we will have one of them coming up shortly as well. But yeah, I think it's him. I don't think it's Luther Burden. Luther Burden plays a very interesting style of football, but Mizzou is just so bad.
He's so fun to watch.
He is, and he's going to be a kick returner probably first year. He plays a lot like Deebo Samuel. That was kind of his comp last year, and he's kind of that kind of guy this year. Like, he's going to be a guy, you dump it off to him for 5 yards, he takes it 60. Like, that's the kind of guy we're looking at here.
I was just curious because under 6 foot guys, they're hard to go super high in drafts, but super
it
fun.
is, and he has the danger of ending up like Wan'Dale Robinson, which Wan'Dale Robinson's 5'8", so that's not what we're talking about height-wise here, but like the kind of players like that where they need that. But if they end up in San Francisco where they know how to use them, that would be perfect. I mean, that's a perfect spot for him to end up. Or like Tank Dell when he ended up in Houston. That's a perfect spot for Tank Dell to end up. So if he ends up somewhere that can use him like that, like maybe the Saints, like that would be a good spot. Yeah, that would kind of be a good thing for him.
Speaking of the Saints, I can't believe the MVS thing worked. I actually played against MVS, and I was like, this dude sat DJ Moore and played MVS, and then he caught an 80-yard touchdown.
Dude, it's because he literally has taken Rashid Shaheed's role. Like, it's literally just what Rashid Shaheed did, and they found the perfect guy to just copy him. And
I just figured it wasn't going to work, and then it did. And, I mean, I still won the game, fortunately, but, man, watching that happen was so – I literally about 5 minutes beforehand was like, he sat DJ Moore. And I was like, okay, cool. That was a bit – I shouldn't have said anything.
It's so weird that he can catch passes from Derek Carr, but cannot catch passes from Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
Well, some are saying about Pat Mahomes' deep ball right now, but that's just some people saying.
He throws a weird ball, man. He throws a weird ball.
Other people are saying Pat Mahomes has a weird deep ball. Not me, but other people.
Tony.
This guy.
All right. I guess we could put Luther Burden at 6 for now.
You don't have to. You could.
We can. Just because I don't want to like put too many players where it's like we'll come back to that, where we'll just get them out of the way now. All right, let's go back to the running back pool because we just need to get. I mean, some of these guys are probably going to go to some great situations, so we're just going to go back. The next one off the board for me is Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. He's just kind of continuing that monster running back coming from North Carolina. We had Javonte that year. We have
Michael Carter. Don't forget.
Yeah, I was about to say R.I.P. Michael Carter, but he's back. He was, a good one. But this guy might be better than both of them. I've loved Omarion Hampton's game. He is 5'9", Joe, so that might, strike a box in your where you're like, I don't want him because he's short. But
he's 220 pounds, though.
Yes, he fits. 6 foot. Oh, he might be 6 foot. I thought he was 5'9" or 5'10". Maybe not. Anyway,
6'0".
Okay. Yeah, he kind of fits the bill as far as we'll see because sometimes they can fudge the numbers. My man was standing on some rocks or something. But he's kind of the guy I think would be great for a team to take right now. I mean, he's another workhorse guy that has been getting a ton of carries throughout the year. This year he's had a little bit more split work, so it hasn't been as much as it was last season with Drake May, but this season he's just been a monster as well. So
his numbers are exactly the same.
They are. But I think Omarion Hampton would be good. They don't have a defense.
Fast. He can catch the ball. Sign me up. Those are the running backs
for sure.
I love.
For sure. All right. On to number 8. Joe, we're going to go with your guy, Cam Ward, out of Miami.
He's there. He did it.
His age should concern me, but after watching what Jaden Daniels did this season, maybe old rookie quarterbacks are back. I don't know. It's kind of hard to think. Like, I know normally we in the fantasy community and dynasty community see an older quarterback as like a negative, a guy who's starting out 23, 24. But I don't think that that's the case anymore. And I think Cam Ward's coming in and he is an actual competent quarterback. And put him on Tennessee. I think with Tennessee, I mean, he could be good next season if the cards end up right.
He could make Treylon Burks relevant. That's all I need.
Sure, him, Ridley. I mean, I would pay to see that for sure. I do think that would be a good spot for them. All right, we already talked Cam Ward, so we'll just move on to number 9. Do you guys have any more, or
I got one?
Okay.
No, Josh, go ahead.
Okay.
I've been asking a lot of questions.
I love this. I love that you guys are involved here.
I don't know where they go. I'm just putting them out there because another running back that's killing it right now. Kaleb Johnson from Iowa.
Damn you.
Yeah.
Is it time?
That is my guy. The
Kaleb
contact
Johnson-
balance on this dude is insane.
I was gonna
That's
say
exactly it.
I randomly watched a game of Iowa's, and I was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And I looked him up afterwards because Johnson. You don't think anything of it, and then
Yeah.
man, killing it.
If he had a different name, I think people would be a lot more locked in on Kaleb
Is he
Johnson.
related to
the boring
Carry On?
names.
Probably not, but I mean, we could check. He might be
They're
related to Calvin
every
for
other
all we know.
Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think he's
Magic?
gonna get the
Some
Isiah
Magic still?
Pacheco comp, and he plays like he hates the ground. Like that is exactly how Pacheco plays, and that's how Kaleb Johnson plays. Now Pacheco was a 7th round quarterback or running back, but he was coming out of Toledo, whereas Kaleb Johnson's coming out of Iowa, and I've liked a lot of his games this season. I think Kaleb Johnson, yeah, I definitely could see that. That's actually a really good pick, and a guy that people should have on their radars. He's got a boring name, but he doesn't have a boring game.
Josh, that was the guy I was like all fired up about
Okay.
watching this. I mean,
I was gonna say I want to throw it out
That
there 'cause I
dude
know he's
just
another guy who's
coasts.
just
he like slides by the defense. Like they don't even
Mhm.
tackle him. And then all of a sudden he hits his stride and he's gone. Like I don't even understand the physics behind what he does, but it's
one of
amazing.
like 5 people I knew in this draft that weren't the Colorados. So
That's fair. All right, let's get one more running back out of the way. That is Treyveon Henderson, the other Ohio State running back. Probably should have come out to the draft last season. I think that was Ohio State's plan, but he decided to come back for this season. He's a really good pass catcher out of the backfield as is a runner. I do think he's going to be in a little bit more of a split situation. I think whoever takes him is definitely planning on him being a guy that, I don't want to comp him 100%, but like a Braylon Allen type of situation right now with the Jets where like he's not getting
or
30% of the snaps right away. Bucky is probably a better example. Like hopefully that's how they're planning to use him rather than Braylon Allen. But I think it's like a similar guy like that where if he ends up in a spot where he has a chance to take the backfield, I do think he's going to give it the best shot. I can't wait until we do the tiers list this year, by the way, for like who's going to take a running back. Because I can't say there's a ton of teams that I love the destinations for, except for like the big ones. But like most of them, it's a very muddled situation right now.
Well, I mean, there's teams that like don't technically need one right now, but could use one, right? Like the Bengals, like they have Chase Brown. He's been doing great, but like
their one,
futures.
I think would take one,
especially the way Khalil Herbert got pancaked and Burrow got sacked last game.
Yeah,
that looked horrible.
Herbert did not seem to be the I don't know
them
solution.
Dallas. Chargers, Raiders.
Saints even? I mean, Kamara's only got so much left.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, there's a lot of teams I think that could grab running backs is my thing, and like it would suck to have this guy sit behind Kamara, but for a year in Dynasty or so, hopefully.
Yeah, Bears could probably use one. Giants. Yeah, I guess there is a lot of teams. I mean, Giants do have Tracy, but I do think that them taking a second running back wouldn't be a bad idea.
I think enough teams have seen Bill Belichick draft a running back every year in the mid rounds, and San Francisco do the same thing and just keep having these stables of running backs. So it's definitely becoming common practice. So.
Chargers could be another one too.
For sure, the Chargers, I think. All right, number 10. I'm going to go to Ole Miss. We're going to take Tre Harris. Now, I do want to admit that Ole Miss has kind of pumped out some like very average wide receivers these last couple of years. I'm looking at Mingo. Xavier Legette was a little bit better.
AJ Brown. I'm sorry.
No, you can't judge Legette.
That's going farther back. Well, still, I think Tre Harris has a chance to come in and be fight to be a 1 on a team if he wants to, or definite 2, like T. Higgins situation. And I think Tre Harris could be a guy like that. He's been injured a lot this season, so the stats aren't really going to jump off the page. But the player that he is very, very good. Last season, he was extremely good. And I wish he could have come out then because we could have got him in the NFL already. But this season, he could come out, and I think he's going to make a big name for himself. I think he's going to be the 3rd wide receiver off the board. I still think he's going to go before Egbuka. I think Egbuka has 2nd round written all over him, which isn't a bad thing, but it probably is going to happen.
Not a good thing.
Well, it does mean that there is at least a red flag about you, but red flags don't always mean everything. DK went in the second round. He was awesome. AJ Brown went in the second round. He's awesome. Or no, AJ Brown didn't go in the second round. I don't know who I'm thinking of there, but
I was like, he was a first rounder, wasn't
he was. Tennessee took him. But there's just, a long list of guys that went in the second round weren't necessarily deserving to go in the second round.
Yeah, it's always weird when there's like 10, 15 guys because they can't all be drafted, or I'd say more like 8 to 10 guys. They can't all be drafted in the first round, so then you get that slip, that early second round. Wide receivers where it's at.
For sure.
For teams,
all right.
At least for team's sake.
We're going to take what could be the last running back or last quarterback of this draft, potentially. Jalen Milroe from Alabama. He's a dual threat guy. He is young. He's kind of raw a little bit, but he's less raw than Anthony Richardson. He comes in with a little bit more styling there. I do think that there's certain points of his game where you were like, man, I feel like you could make that pass, but he doesn't make it. Or there's certain times where it's like, man, why don't you just run with it? And he doesn't make it or doesn't do it. So I do think there is room for improvement there, but I think ending up on a team with a good quarterback coach, he's going to be a guy that is going to be a monster. I really like Jalen Milroe.
Can't complain about what I've seen from him.
I don't have anything.
That's all I got to say.
Fair enough. So he played in an epic game against Georgia. Georgia has a really good defense, and I think that, push comes to shove, I do think he's going to be in the top 15 of the draft quarterback-wise, and I do think that he could end up on a team where he changes the culture right away there, for sure.
All right, so I got a question for you, Bill, because I'm pretty much lost at this point. Is there a new Tyreek Hill coming out? Like, is there the next? And I know we're not going to comp him, but is somebody going to comp the next Tyreek Hill in the NFL draft? Like, is there someone that just has the speed that they're going to do and try to curse him?
That is a good question. I don't really think so. There's not really a guy that's that fast in my.
They pretty much do that every year, though. They're like, this guy's really fast. He had a really fast 40. Like, just like everybody's looking for Tyreek Hill. He might just be just like him. And I always feel like it's always cursing the person.
Is it Isiah Bond?
I mean, that's probably where I would go. Is Isiah Bond? He's probably the fastest right now. I know there's a dude at Kentucky right now. Also, I think his name's Barry Brown or something like that. He is, I think, the fastest wide receiver, but I wouldn't necessarily think he's good enough to go. But he is fast, so I guess that should mean something.
I mean, John Ross wasn't good enough to go, but he did.
That's true. John Ross, track athlete, somehow weaseled his way into the first round of the draft. That is true. That did happen. All right, I think for number 12, I think we're going to go with a tight end, actually. I do think this tight end class is not overly great, but I do think it is good enough to produce 2 good tight ends. And I will go with Colston Loveland from Michigan. He's missed a couple games due to injury this year, so he hasn't really gotten to show full stop what he is. He was much, much better last year with Jim Harbaugh and J.J. McCarthy and Roman Wilson and all those guys. But this year, he's still been good. He's still a good pass blocker. He's still good at run blocking. And he's also good at the explosive play pass catching too. So I do think Colston Loveland will be a guy that gets drafted high. He may not have the highest ceiling, though, of a tight end in this draft, which we'll get to in a second. But I do think he's a guy that is going to get on the field right away just because of what he can do.
Why didn't he play ahead of AJ Barner?
I mean, it's a good question. He was more involved last year than AJ Barner, I think. I mean, in the national title game, in the playoff, I do remember it being a Loveland type of thing than Barner. But, I mean, Barner did play. It was a duo situation. So, I mean, I can see your point there. But I don't know. I think he's better by a little bit.
Not arguing with you. Just
that's true.
Talking about what I know.
Wrong.
All right, so back to Joe said Nick Nash or whatever, and that's like I was like I don't even know who this guy is. San Jose State University, I assume. Is there any like because we always talk about the big schools, right? We always talk about Ohio. We always talk about Oklahoma, LSU, yada yada yada. Is there any like small school guy that's just burning it up right now? Not necessarily that needs to be the next pick or anything, but like,
I mean, obviously, other than Ashton Jeanty, who I would consider Boise State a small school, to be honest
that's
with you.
fair. I feel like Boise State to me, though, like as a non-college football watcher, like that's like because of the iconic field, they're like part of the like nationally televised games, in my opinion.
Well, Josh is looking more for like Julius Chestnut from Sacred Heart, and
well, I mean, even San Jose State, I would say Nick Nash if it's the guy.
I'm just.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say I know it off the top of my head right now, but yeah,
Okay.
there is definitely.
I
mean,
I know you don't know everything about college football, but
I was about to say, as we get into, I'm not grinding Miami of Ohio tape, but I mean, like as we get on with the season, we will get we'll get more guys in there.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
All right.
Just spitballing here.
No, you're good. Let's start on the second round. And we're actually going to go with the speedster. We're going to go with Isiah Bond. Y'all kind of reminded me. And he is going to get vaulted up this board for no reason. I'm not saying he's bad. He does play at Texas, so obviously I have a natural bias against him. But bias aside, he is fast, and he did play at Alabama. He was really good. Like I just have seen he's way more hit or miss than he should be, and I think we're gonna have. I mean, that's gonna show out. But then again, like they had Xavier Worthy last year, and I thought he was hit or miss, and he's kind of proven that to me. But whatever, that's neither here nor there.
I'm about it.
I like it. I like this no pushback. This
at this point,
it's your world, man. We're just living in it.
We're just living in it here, man.
Okay, well, we'll just rattle through the second round then, because I don't want to bore you guys or the audience. So next pick on the board, Nicholas Singleton from Penn State. Great runner, great bruising guy out of Penn State. He's currently in a timeshare, but they're both really good players. Just Nicholas Singleton is the better guy. We've seen a lot of great.
I was literally going to bring this up, but I just saw his stats drop off, so I wasn't sure what was happening with that.
Yep, he's just in a timeshare, and that might just be the way that this goes now with NIL. Like they might just be, they're not going to have just one guy leading the whole thing. They're just going to have multiple guys, which is okay. It's just the way it goes. But I think Nick Singleton will be really good. He's a guy that can lead a backfield. There's a lot of these guys that like can come out and lead a backfield right away, which is just scary because we don't normally see that. We see like guys that are destined to be role players, but not him. I mean, he's playing in a timeshare now, so he could continue doing that, but he doesn't necessarily have to do that all the time. All right, let's go to the tight end pool once again. We're going to talk about Penn State's tight end, Tyler Warren. Guys, we don't typically see tight ends with 200-yard receiving games and multiple at that, but that is just what we're getting out of Tyler Warren. It does seem like these guys that are really good in college at catching passes, it tends to translate pretty well to the next level. That we all kind of were in on Trey McBride when he was coming out of Colorado State. And look at what that's done. Like, he has been that guy all the way through, and it didn't matter that he went to Colorado State. He was really good at catching the ball. I think we have a similar situation here with Tyler Warren. It has been kind of a one-year wonder, but that might be just because of situation, the way that the offense goes, the quarterback, yada, yada. Like, I think that this is just a chance for you to get in on a tight end with a ceiling that is massive. I think this guy could be the fantasy tight end we're talking about in a couple of years. That's like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed out on grabbing him. So grabbing him in the second round actually would make a lot of sense.
I will say, any tight end that goes and gets 800 yards in college, the 12-game season, usually ends up being pretty great. Like, I know it's not a perfect science by any means, but most of these tight ends who come out, I'm sitting here doing the research, not watching a single game of theirs, and sitting here like, they had 300 yards, but people are trying to draft him in the second round right now. I'm not about that. But you see a guy that got 800 yards, you know that he can go out there and make those explosive plays. It's not just a dump off or hey, I'm a touchdown guy, red zone target. So I'm about it. Thank you for pointing me
we desperately need a stud tight end out of these young guys. I mean, I know McBride's kind of doing it right now, but after LaPorta fell off and all these guys are getting older, we need some young
Well,
blood.
Yeah,
what-
as I said, we need to replenish the Kittles, Kelseys, and Andrews.
For sure. Well, and I think this Warren guy could definitely be that. But I think what is like nerve wracking for me is, are we kind of getting like, we have a good rookie tight end come in, he has a great season, and then he kind of takes a back seat, and then we have like a new rookie tight end comes in, dominates, and then like maybe takes a back seat. Like we got Brock Bowers right now who's killing it. People are like, what do I need to attach with Brock Bowers or with Sam LaPorta to get Brock Bowers? And I'm just like, Jesus, that's where we're at right now. Like that is insane to me.
Flipping number ones for number ones. But it's funny because the person who drafted Brock Bowers was probably trying to trade for LaPorta, and everyone was like, no, he's untouchable.
100%.
And now they're like, oh, let's do it.
Yeah. What
I
do I
love
need to
Brock
give
Bowers.
with
I'd give the kitchen sink for Brock Bowers at this point.
I would too. I watched him just put up 40 points on me last week. But no, okay, so back to LaPorta. The situation he has here is it's not that he's bad. He's great. We know he's great. It's just the mouths, right? Like the two running backs, Amon-Ra and now Jameson. And honestly, like, you know, there really isn't you can't have 5 fantasy like stars on a team in a year. Like look at Devontae Smith right now, who's slumping a bit because of all the stars that are back. Goddard, AJ Brown, Saquon, all hitting really hard. Smith's kind of slipping a little bit. It doesn't mean he's bad. It just means that, you know, LaPorta's not getting the work. Smith isn't getting the work right now, but I would actually in the offseason be buying LaPorta if you could. I just think that because one injury, right? Like if Monroe goes down or Jameson doesn't, you know, get suspended for the 15th time, like LaPorta's got a hit, right? Like, and I think that value will never be the same. Like, so I don't know. I kind of like the idea of trying to see what you can get for him now. Because I feel like the LaPorta manager.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I think LaPorta is not a sunk cost, but like very depreciated right now. Like, you know, you drove the Lambo off the lot, you got a ding on it, and now you're going to try to sell it back, and now's the time to buy it back because you're going to get a better
These
price
are the
for
trades you make in the offseason.
Man, I love off-season talk. It's just so great. Just spitballing for fun.
Well, hey, the people listening to this podcast, you know, might be out of it. So, you know, we just need to keep them looped into the fantasy discussion. Season's not over in Dynasty. It's always going. So stick with us. All right, let's get on to the third pick in the second round, and that is Emeka Egbuka. We already kind of talked about him. Personally, like just without doing a whole ton of research, still plenty of games that be played so far, like there's still a lot can happen. He's looking like my guy that could potentially be a bust in this draft. I don't know. I don't want to say that off top. I just feel like, you know, we always have like a Keon Coleman, like what happened last season, or, you know, something like that. Jalen Polk, who has been a bust so far, could be Emeka Egbuka being the next guy there. I always hate when you're grabbing the second best wide receiver off of a team and trying to draft them as a number 1 on your actual team. That just always scares me. Like Jalen Polk was a number 2 when he got taken. And I just like, I don't know. He's
McMillan's not doing much better.
It's not Rome Odunze.
Oh,
well, yeah, exactly.
McMillan was number
Rome
3.
was the
right.
one.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I did for man. What a wide receiver room in that team.
Dude, Washington was wild with Penix. Yeah, that was crazy. And then Joe's boy Dylan Johnson.
Dylan Johnson, baby. Get him on Miami.
Put him on a milk carton. Yeah, so we'll go with Emeka Egbuka here. I don't want to. He may be fine. He may end up being just fine. I don't like. He is a really crisp route runner and stuff. Like I don't want to say anything about that, but like we said these things about Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy was a crisp route runner and he could do all the things, and then you know he ends up being who he was, which is
he almost had 200 yards last week. You know,
that's true.
I
don't know
at this point though.
Yeah, for sure. Okay,
Billy,
let's move on.
I gotta ask you.
Yes. Okay.
I gotta ask you. Okay, a guy I've had my eye on, just because of the history, especially with last year with Neighbors and Thomas. Is Kyren Lacy a guy to look at right now?
So yes, we're definitely gonna get. I mean, let's just talk about him now. We'll put him down next. He is going to be a little bit more with the potential landing spot situation. The LSU offense is disgusting to watch. If you've ever bet on them, as I have, it's just like you never know what you're going to get from LSU's offense. But Kyren Lacy's been a guy that has been a very consistent part of their offense. He's got really good hands. He looks every part of a one wide receiver. LSU has the lineage of being wide receiver U potentially. I do think that kind of plays into it a little bit too. He is the guy that got the gun celebration penalty at the beginning of the season, so we kind of need to get that probably out of his repertoire. But other than that, he is definitely a killer. Well, that's probably a bad thing to put there.
Oh, dude, come on!
But I shouldn't. I didn't mean to.
Would you say he's an assassin?
Yes, he is a assassin of touchdowns.
Speaking of
Shooter shoot. I don't
not
know.
to bring this up for 2 weeks in a row, but the Trump dance, did not realize people were doing that. I saw a compilation of football players doing the little Trump swing or whatever, and that's just phenomenal.
It's just popular right now. Whatever random thing is popular, they're just like throw it in. I still miss the sketch thing, dude. The sketch thing hit at the wrong time. That would have been really popular celebration, but since it was in February, like nobody was doing it. That would have been really popular this year. But yeah, no, that's what's going now.
It's the new gritty.
I like the headstand. That was after the high school kid did it.
The headstand was fantastic.
That kid's got to feel cool as shit, by the way.
People taking a celebration.
You did a celebration. All the NFL dudes are doing it.
For sure.
There needs to be a documentary there. 30 for 30.
There could be. All right, 4th pick, 2nd round. We're going with Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. Another Tennessee running back is going to come into the league, and he's ready to go. I mean, the problem with Jalen Wright is that he ended up in Miami in a situation that no running back should enter into. I do think he's going to be good in a couple of years, but let's get there first before we see it. And I think Dylan Sampson's another guy where he's probably going to get drafted somewhere where he doesn't belong. Like he belongs in a place where he can contribute, but he's going to end up in a place like Atlanta or Carolina. Like we're probably not going to see him full out, but I do think he should be very much involved. He's a touchdown machine, and he's a guy that's always good for a big bust up.
These are my favorite guys to draft. The guys who had their freshman, sophomore year as like the backup to a better running back, and then just popped off of their junior year right before the draft. It just shows less mile on the treads. Yes, there's that whole like, oh man, maybe he's not actually that good. He only did it 1 year, but I think that's another thing is he just kind of slips down the board in fantasy drafts too. So if he gets the right matchup or the right, like you said, oh man, if he goes to the wrong place, but if he goes to the right place, watch out.
Are we worried about Tennessee's offense, like with these guys though? Because
a little bit.
It's so weird. It's so different. I mean, Cedric Tillman's finally doing something that's good to see. Jalen Wright, no. Or Jalen Hyatt, I'm sorry, and Jalen Wright for that matter. We know the situation with him, but I like what I see out of Dylan Sampson. I'm just really starting to get a little bit worried. I mean, Hendon Hooker is obviously a backup, but it's just kind of a funky offense.
Well, they have an air raid system there, and it's kind of like what Lincoln Riley was doing when he was at Oklahoma. Now, like, CeeDee Lamb was a freak of nature. You knew he was good. But, like, D.D. Westbrook was also in that system. He was a Heisman.
I forgot about him.
A Heisman caliber player. He got invited to New York, and he was a total wash in Jacksonville. It wasn't even worth it. And then Marquise Brown was in it too, but he was a little different as well. But, yeah, I think it's kind of a downgraded version of that where, like, you know, we don't know what they could be at the next level.
So what you're saying is when the Commanders draft Dylan Sampson, we need to run to put that pick in? Because Eckler's on his last leg.
I would like that, actually. I hope you're speaking that into existence, Joe. I
see you're saying that, but you keep remembering that Washington's only going to use Brian Robinson.
Well, and then Jaden Daniels, when he's healthy, you know, he might be running too. So don't.
Yeah, that injury is really hampering him.
Yeah, no kidding. You see that like bulletproof vest he has to wear? I mean, shit. Like I can't imagine him running in that thing.
It makes him look like a normal person and not a pencil. So
it does. I will say, I was terrified for Jaden.
You should wear that all the time.
To Washington pencils, man. That's what you look like.
Make him wear like a Kevlar vest under his pads or something.
I think that's what
number?
It is, isn't
hey,
it?
What number is he? He's not number 2. Never mind.
Jaden Daniels? 5, yeah. I think, right?
That'd be really fun if he was number 2 because number 2 pencils.
Number 2 pencils. Yeah. Make that your team name.
Okay.
Do it. All right. On to
I'm not in second place, Josh.
I'll end up pick 5. We're going to Oregon with Tez Johnson. We didn't have Tez Walker end up, working out, but we do have a Tez Johnson. He played the peanut butter. I mean, potentially. He played the peanut butter to what's his name's jelly last season? Troy Franklin's jelly last season. 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's really good in coverage, like he's at beating coverage. He's a guy that has always good for a big play. I do think that this probably is the last year for Oregon wide receivers, so snap him up all you can. But he's a really good player.
All right, I'm sorry. I just found a person that's smaller than Devontae Smith. He's 160 pounds.
Yeah, no, he's light. They like that at Oregon. It's all about speed there. Yeah. Troy Franklin was light. He was like 6'2", like 180 or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So, actually, Joe, you asked me who the Troy Franklin could be. It just could be this guy. It could be Tez Johnson. Who falls down the board again. I didn't think about it at first, but yeah, you're probably right. It could just be that all Oregon wide receivers just get automatically thrown down the board. Okay, let's get into some running backs here. I got next on the board going Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State. Now, had he come out last season, he probably would have been a top 10 pick in the draft. But then this season happened where Mike Gundy said that he was going to run like 1,000 times every game, and it really hasn't been great this season. Now, the whole Oklahoma State offense as a whole has been bad, so it's not really like I can just blame him for this, but he's not necessarily the generational guy that we did think after last season. Last season, he was potentially going to go to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. This year, like now we're talking about him fighting in day 2 to be like one of the, third round picks. I think he's more of the last year guy than he is this year guy. I think this year is kind of a fluky situation. And I think that if you get him at the 6th pick in the second round, you've potentially got a lottery ticket in your hand for a guy that probably should be in the first round of the draft, but he's actually going to get taken in the second round. So you always want a good lottery ticket in the second round, I think, because those picks are often very cheap to acquire. So, yeah.
So what changed from last year?
I can't really tell you because, he runs about the same, but I don't know if it's the vision. I don't know if the O-line's a lot worse. Like, I haven't
throwing more, or
in. Not really. It's just I don't know. It's kind of tough to say what's going on this season because he won the Doak Walker Award for best running back in the country last season, and yet can't do anything this season. So I don't really know. That's something that's probably going to be through the draft process. We're going to figure out, and we'll see if it's something that won't happen at the next level.
Ollie Gordon. Yep. Are they playing a harder schedule this year? It seems like every time I see them, they're playing a decent
Big 12
team.
sucks.
Yeah.
Big 12 sucks as a whole. Other than, Colorado's the best team in that conference, and I don't really think Colorado's that good. So, should tell you all you need to know there. All right, number 19, pick 7 in the second round. We're going back to Oregon yet again and picking up Evan Stewart, wide receiver, 6-foot guy. He transferred in from Texas A&M. He was a 5-star wide receiver coming out when he was recruited. I would like to say that the upside here is a lot more than what he's actually shown on the field. I think, this is a guy that should be in the top 10 of the NFL draft. Like, he's got all of the metrics, everything that should be that, but he just hasn't proven that this season. And he didn't really prove it at Texas A&M. That was a whole implosion thing where everybody left. There was a mass exodus of players. And he's kind of played the second fiddle to Tez, but I like the cut of his jib, guys. I think he's a guy that, again, lottery ticket, you want to have him because he's going to get drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, and he's going to end up being a potential 2 or 1 on a team.
Dog will hunt,
Dog will hunt indeed. All right, we're going to go back to Oregon again. Jordan James, running back from them. Look, Oregon's number 1 team in the country for a reason right now. They're undefeated. Like, there is a reason for this. They have a very, very good football team. So I don't want to make it seem like, we're just going with the number 1 team here, but they are a good team for a reason. I think he's going to be in the second round of the draft. This running back in the second, third round, I think we're going to see a lot of guys here. Very, very deep class. And while I don't think he has the number one white running back on the team kind of guy, I think he has a really strong shot at being a number 2 on the team next season.
Hell yeah.
Love it.
Can I throw a name out?
Yeah, let's do it, Joe.
At this. Tai Felton from Maryland. You know, we got Stephon Diggs, we got DJ Moore coming from this school. They are equivalent to LSU in producing excellent talent in football. So I got to see Tai Felton here, man.
Yeah, no, we definitely Tai Felton was. We'll put him next. Tai Felton is really, really good football player. I liked him quite a bit. Won't say I've grinded a lot of Maryland tape, but he's big, he's fast. I mean, you'd love to see the size up a little bit, but we'll take what we can get right now.
I like those possession guys, man. Like those kind of tall, lanky possession guys. It's my jam.
Yeah. No, I definitely, like what you're seeing there. That's definitely a good spot. Tai Felton, good pick here. All right, next, Devin Neal from Kansas. I thought he could have come out last year. He's a short guy. He's not 6 foot. But I just think that he's got the intangibles that could make him a guy at the spot that could end up being a big pick. He's got the receiving chops. And while I don't know if necessarily he'll be used as a runner fully, I do think that he will find a really, really good spot in PPR leagues as a pass catcher. And yeah, I think Devin Neal from Kansas, that should be the pick here.
What do you think, Josh?
I'm out. I don't have anyone else.
Pretty tapped too. I don't have that much to say.
I was gonna say I lost it now.
Love it. Okay, well, let's move on to another running back in this class. Like I'm just gonna keep saying another running back.
Trevor
This one's
Etienne.
kind of no, we're not.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I was about to say I don't think he's gonna make it in the top 2 rounds of a rookie draft, but he'll definitely be in the 3rd or 4th round.
I was gonna say he's gonna be a fun 4th round, 5th round pick in rookie drafts. Just be like, whatever, see what happens.
For sure. All right, we're gonna go with Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. He's a 5-year running back, which does scare a lot of people, and I can't fully blame them for that. But these last 2 seasons have been so dominant from him that I, can't knock the hustle. So last year he went for 1,500 yards, and this year he has gone for 1,100 so far. I just like what he can do. He's a very, very powerful runner. He's built forward tough. Like he's a guy that, don't necessarily know if the wide receiving work's going to work out that well because he's not great at that. But
Billy, we got to stop you. We're both Chevy people. We can't be doing the Ford tough stuff.
Yeah, we can't talk about Fords here.
He's built Chevy tough.
Chevy strong. I don't know what it is.
Like
nothing rides like a Chevrolet.
No, that's Ford though, right?
I don't know. I don't actually care, but sometimes whenever me and Kristen are driving,
you guys don't have any rookie stuff. You don't have truck stuff. You find you guys a
what do we have? You know what we have?
That's a good question.
Jib. We got Jib.
We got Jib and we got Hart, Bill. All right.
God, you guys both do got Jib. All right. Well, just for the let's just get the flashy name out there too. I like it, Josh. Let's go. Trevor Etienne from Georgia. We'll throw him out there just to get a name that people recognize.
I hate it. I don't.
It's not that he's not. I mean, he's gonna go high. Like I do think that.
And also, honestly, in reality, like average wise, people are probably gonna end up drafting him just because of his name.
100%. And while he's not as good as Travis Etienne, he is good at football, and he's been not great with Georgia this season. I wouldn't say that he's the classic guy, but I do think that he has a chance to make a name for himself because he already has a name coming in. So I think he's going to get more chances than a normal guy would, and I do think that he's going to get drafted in like the 4th round and,
100%.
Make something of it.
And he goes to Jacksonville and steals Etienne's job.
Dude,
Can you imagine if they were number 1 and 7, so they looked exactly the same when you were? I know that's not That's Brian Robinson's number, or Brian Thompson's number. But you just imagine if like they're in the backfield, you see Etienne, you're like, yeah, my guy just went for a 90-yard touchdown. It's his brother.
Yeah, it'd be like 5 and 8 because a lot of times when the guy is a 5, it gets tucked up under his chest plate and it looks like an 8. Yeah,
the worst.
Horrible.
Running back should always have to be very different numbers from their counterparts.
I agree with that completely. Bears, by the way, we're looking at the Bears there. They have like 5 guys, and they all have, well, I guess not so much this season, but last season, you could never tell who the hell was in the end zone if you weren't a fan of the team, obviously.
I could say.
Well, yeah, that's why I said if you weren't a fan of the team.
I wasn't a fan of that team last year. No way.
Was that the trash can year?
No.
Trash can year.
Sam Darnold was the trash can year.
All right.
Oh no, the Bears trash can.
Yeah. Is it time to bring it out, by the way?
We're almost back. Yeah, it definitely is.
It's full. Need to get rid of some Red Bulls.
It's been this season. All right. Last pick in this rookie mock draft is going to be Xavier Restrepo from Miami. He is the all-time leader at Miami in receiving yards. Him and Cam Ward have just been on one this entire season, and I'm a huge Xavier Restrepo guy. He is a little older, but I don't think that matters necessarily. And I've just kind of liked everything about his game for the last couple seasons. I played a Devy League, and he's been a guy that I've been eyeing for quite some time. I can't wait to get him onto my team next season. And yeah, I think that Xavier Restrepo from Miami would be the next pick.
What a name.
Every time I watch Miami, he has the ball. It is unreal.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially like I can't wait to. Well, I don't know if you guys are going to gamble or not when we are legalized for gambling next year. But like just gambling on him to get like 75 yards every game, it's just printing money. I mean, it's great. Great way to make some money. All right, I'm going to quickly go over some guys that are on the fringe that I'm not going to get into deep analysis about. Just throwing out some names that people should know. I think his name is Elic Ayomanor. He is from Stanford, wide receiver. He is an absolute monster at catching the football. I've loved everything about his game. He's had 200-yard games in the past, and he is like the only one that has been relevant from Stanford in quite some time. So that has been good to see. Tight end from LSU named Mason Taylor. I like his game a bit. He's not quite the receiver that the two guys ahead of him are at tight end, but I do think he's a guy that could be something. A guy that I can't wait to see at the Senior Bowl, if we go, is Jalen Royals from Utah State. Actually, Josh, there's a guy that could be a small school guy.
Yeah,
that could go high.
School guy.
Now, I forgot about Jalen Royals because I hadn't read down my list, but he is a guy at a small school that has made a big difference, and I can't wait to see him with actual talented players around him because he's been very good. And then a couple of running backs, R.J. Harvey from UCF, Central Florida. Again, runs like he hates the ground. He's a guy that UCF is going to run the ball every single down, and it doesn't matter because R.J. Harvey is going to get his every single game. And like I think had he had a better season, like not Ashton Jeanty, like we would probably be talking about him a lot more. But he's playing at UCF, not great team. So he's probably getting a little bit down. And then I would like to leave off with Phil Mafah from Clemson. Another one of these Clemson guys that is just in the end zone every time you look up. He scores 2-3 touchdowns every week. He's scored a touchdown almost every game this season. And just a guy overall that I think should be on people's radar. The only thing that scares me about him is like what happened with Will Shipley, where like I thought Will Shipley was a monster at Clemson. And he gets kind of drafted as not necessarily an afterthought to the Eagles, but like they kind of went into the season not planning to use him. And I feel like Phil Mafah might follow down that path where he might get drafted to a team where like the Colts or something where he's not planned on being used. But if injury were to happen, he could have a situation come up, something like that.
Love it.
Dude, Shipley seems to have gotten chewing into Gainwell's work, by the way. And he looks
yeah.
really good doing it.
100%. Will Shipley is like, if there was, God forbid, something to happen to Saquon, I think Will Shipley would have a very large workload.
For sure. And then there's a ton of quarterbacks I didn't even get into. I'm just not sold on any of these guys, so I don't even want to bring them up. Like Carson Beck from Georgia, he's probably going to be in the first round, but I kind of want to wait to see. Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, he's putting up crazy banana numbers, but like, it's hard to trust what Lane
Is
Kiffin
that going
and
to
them are doing
translate to the
down there.
NFL?
Exactly, like, and I just don't see it. And then Quinn Ewers from Texas, I just am not impressed with this guy. It's gonna come off this entire draft season as me being a hater. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. I don't get what people see in him being a first round guy. I don't see why anybody would hand him the keys to their franchise. And like, I wouldn't say that like I'm not a professional at seeing this, but I just like feel like these quarterbacks we can see coming from a mile away when they're not very good. And he seems to be a guy to me that is just not passing the sniff test of being a starter in the NFL. And I don't know. Like Will Levis, like we three knew Will Levis wasn't going to be good in the NFL, but yet he still was getting hyped up by everybody. We still put him high in our mock draft because we were, agreeing with the consensus, and we were right. Like he wasn't good. Me and Joe went to the Senior Bowl. We thought none of those quarterbacks were good. They were all trash. And yet we still let them talk us in 3 quarterbacks in the first round when we knew damn well none of those guys were any good. And I don't know. I just feel like we're getting better at sniffing this stuff, and I just see Quinn Evers being that kind of guy.
I believe
I watched
your
a lot
exact
more
words
Ewers
were woof
last year.
Woof. Double woof.
Yes, it was. I will never forget when me and Joe got done watching those practices and people were still hyping them up in the first round. And we're like, what did we watch? What did we see? Because this is not that. None of these guys
your
are
rose-colored lenses, man, obviously.
Obviously.
Man, they were buzzing about the quarterbacks, and we were like, been out here all day, man. I haven't seen a damn thing.
No, they were all really bad. And, like, I guess you could chalk it up to, like, the drills they were running, but damn, it was terrible. It wasn't like last year when I went, when it was Bo Nix and Penix. At least, like I told you guys, like, those guys look like professional quarterbacks. And, like, look, now Penix isn't a starter, but Bo Nix is a starter.
Will be.
And it's like, those guys look obviously like they should be out there. And I was like, Rattler is getting a lot of buzz, but I was like, he doesn't really seem like a starter in the NFL. It's kind of happening. So I'm not going to say I'm getting better at seeing these guys. I don't know. Maybe. Just a little bit.
I have too much faith in people. That's my problem.
Yeah, well, we're not doing, like, this year we are drawing the line in the sand. We are not going to go with the consensus on quarterbacks. Like, I'm sticking to my damn guns. If a guy doesn't look like he belongs, he doesn't in my book.
This is going to be the damn year every one of these guys is awesome. It's going to be like an all-time class. We're going to be like, no.
I think Milroe, I think Beck has a chance, and Sanders and Cam Ward. I think all those guys are good. I think people saying this is a down year. I don't think so. I don't think so at all.
3 quarterbacks. That's better than some of the worst years we've had.
Could potentially be 5 by the end of the first rounders by the end of when it's all said and done. And I don't know.
By the way, there's already Patrick Mahomes comps going on for Cam Ward, and I just need it to stop.
Yeah, no.
Who's the baby Mahomes? The guy who dresses like
Dylan Raiola. At Nebraska. We'll be talking about him here in a couple of years. I think he's a freshman this year, so I think he's got 2 more years.
Does he have jib?
No.
I do not.
Not yet. Not yet. He does not have it yet. I'll tell you that. He's got the looks of Mahomes, but he does not have the game of Mahomes. But then again, Mahomes wasn't winning a lot either at Texas Tech. But he was still putting up crazy numbers, which Dylan Raiola was not. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, did you guys feel like you learned a lot today?
I was just about to say I love doing this because, especially this early, I think this is the earliest we've ever done it. And this is really nice for me because it gets me a little bit head start for the draft prep.
Well, and I hope everybody listening out there also, like, you don't necessarily have to take what I'm saying word to Bible or what all of us are saying, but, like, this is just a place to start. If you're watching college football coming up here and then we get to the bowl games and the college football playoff, you might see quite a few names on this list playing or not playing, depending on if they're in a good bowl game or not. and be like, you know what, I'm gonna watch because that guy they talked about that guy. Like that's what we're here for.
That's why we do this. We love it.
We do.
And we love you, Possums.
We do.
Most of you. Just kidding.
Okay, fair enough. All right. With that being said, I don't know what we're doing next week, so
you don't need to tell them.
Talk about
They'll figure it out.
Exactly.
We'll figure it out next week.
Exactly. It's a mystery. It's something brewing in the pot. We'll talk about it next week. Joe, get us out of here.
Good night.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.